Hello everyone, good morning. Am I audible? You can tell me in the chat box.
Yes.
So we are here for a webinar on machine learning and innovation today. And I would like to do a bit of housekeeping before we begin. तो आई होप मैं सभी को ऑडिबल होंगी और सभी अटेंडीज को बाय डिफॉल्ट म्यूट पर रखा गया है सो दैट वी कैन अवॉइड नॉइज एंड डिस्टर्बेंस. अगर आपको कोई भी समस्या, डाउट या क्वेरी क्लियर करनी हो तो यू कैन आस्क योर क्वेश्चंस इन द चैट बॉक्स एंड आई विल आल्सो एक्सप्लेन यू हाउ यू कैन पोस्ट इट ऑन आवर इवेंट्स पेज Platino on our website platino.in. अदर देन दैट अगर आपका इंटरनेट कनेक्शन वीक है तो आपको अपना वीडियो फीड ऑफ कर देना चाहिए सो दैट आप अपनी इंटरनेट बैंडविड्थ को ऑप्टिमली फायदा ऑप्टिमली उठा सके. और ये सेशन रिकॉर्ड किया जा रहा है तो अगर आपसे कोई भी सेक्शन मिस हो जाएगा सो यू कैन एक्सेस इट ऑन आवर सोशल मीडिया हैंडल्स एंड आवर वेबसाइट platino.in, that is PLATINNO.in. So now, expecting that everyone is familiar with the platform and is comfortable to attend, मैं ये सेशन शुरुआत करना चाहूंगी अपना इंट्रोडक्शन दे करके. I am Anusha Mishra from Platino Incubators, your host for today. And today we have Dr. Chandra Mouli sir. He is currently the associate professor at Central University of Tamil Nadu. He has a vast research experience and he has authored several books and has been serving as a reviewer for multimedia tools and applications, IET signal processing, and Journal for Information Security and Applications. He is with us today to add value to our knowledge base about machine learning. To me, as a newbie, machine learning, artificial intelligence, all these terms have been a lot confusing. जब भी मैं machine learning और artificial intelligence के बारे में पढ़ती हूँ, I have this same reaction as you can see on the screen. So I'd like to hand over to Chandra sir because we also have a time constraint. So Chandra sir, over to you. You can share your screen now.
Yeah, thank you. I hope the screen is visible to all.
Yes, sir.
Anusha, stop sharing from your side.
Okay.
Just 1 minute. You will stop your screen sharing, then sir can share.
Right.
Yeah, it's okay now. It's fine.
Oh, it's perfect.
Shall I start?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
So once again, good morning to all been gathered here. And thanks to the organizers for giving me an opportunity to have a discussion with all of you. So the topic of the day is current trends in machine learning. As you see, in the recent past, the machine learning has been played a dominant role in research as well as in commercial applications and all. The most promising one is the marching towards the deep learning that has facilitated the users to solve complex problems very easily. But the only constraint there is possessing the GPU systems, which are a bit expensive. But still we have other tools sponsored, given by Google or cloud, like Colab or the clouds, wherein people can hire for some hours to execute their models, makes them to have an experience with the machine learning and deep learning so that they can solve the given problem very easily. So I would like to start my session with the quote given by Andrew Ng.
Hello. Hello.
Yes. So this is a famous quote given by Andrew Ng, who is the founder of the Coursera, and his course, The Machine Learning, is the most popular amongst all the courses in the Coursera. What he says is, just as electricity transformed almost everything 100 years ago, today I actually have a hard time thinking of an industry that I don't think artificial intelligence and machine learning will transform in the next several years. That's a true fact. So I hope that all of you have a little knowledge on the machine learning and its models, so that the topic makes sense, that current trends will explore, make you think of the recent directions where the researchers are interested in. The most fundamental task in the machine learning is analyzing of the given data, which is very abundant in nature. Means you have lots and lots of volumes of data available. Modeling the data is basically an interesting task in machine learning. And most of the time, the researchers will spend in looking at the data and understanding the pattern. 70 to 80% of the time they spend in analyzing the data only. And the rest of the 20%, once they analyze the data perfectly, identify the patterns in that, one can easily develop the model with the existing algorithms or with their new proposed algorithms easily. So the challenge is patiently observe the data, explore the interesting phenomena present in the data. So you have, let us assume that you have a set of n vectors labeled x1 to xn. Each vector is again having a d dimensions. For example, if you take either a classification example or a clustering example, where you have, let us say, you have an estimation of a house and you have n different quotes available. Each and every quote is built based on certain parameters like the area of the house, then the size of the number of rooms available, and the location in which the house is located. Like this, these are all the different dimensions, and like that you have n different house estimations available, and based on that data you want to predict or estimate a new price of a given some very parameter. So in all these cases, you go for either regression or something. If you slightly differ the model without focusing on the estimation, you just want to build a model so that you want to study the underlying distribution of the data, then you need to find the clustering approaches and all. So in all this, at the time of the generation of the data, people are do not have any much idea about how and what are all the features that are required and what features which are not required. So at the time of data generation, people start recording each and every minute information into the database. After that, the researchers will look at the data and understand certain columns may not be necessary or may not be relevant to do the task, like estimation or clustering or whatever might be the task is. So the whole process of having large dimensions of the data, you want to, the key problem underlying there is reduce the dimensions of the data and then do cluster the data. So for reducing the dimensions, generally people go for PCA, that is the principal component analysis. Even the machine learning approaches like independent component analysis is also a good tool to reduce the dimensionality reduction of the data. So what the ICA will do is, it will decompose the multivariate data, because it has the different dimensions. So with the aim of producing some components from the data, so that each component is statistically independent to other. So from these d dimensions, I take some, let us say, k dimensions of the data, so that that k dimensions is sufficient to represent or to model the given data. So where k is far less than the given d dimensions. So for example, in your, if you see the machine learning repositories, every data instance contains thousands of features available, but not all the features are important. Very few features, like 10 to 20 features, may be sufficient to determine the properties of the distribution of the data. So reducing that thousands of dimensions into 10 or 20 can be effectively and efficiently done by the independent component analysis or the standard principal component analysis method. So still this has a wide scope in improving these things. So people are further working on to reduce the dimensions in an efficient way, but still on date, these are very effective. And once the data is reduced into the lower dimensions, how to do the clustering? Means identifying the similarity of the patterns within a cluster and dissimilar patterns across the cluster. And for that, you have a traditional k-means algorithm and others are there. But amongst all those things, Gaussian mixture modeling is popularly used in terms of the machine learning perspective, where it uses a semi-parametric probability density estimator, which is used to train iteratively on the given data. So even though the trends we are discussing, these are the basic problems, and the approaches are also very naive approaches, but still these are very important and very popular still date. Similarly, the other techniques like support vector machines, which are used for powerful discrimination, that is a classification of the data, and also for good generalization of the data. So the support vector machines, if you see, basically you have a classification which is let's say you have a two-dimensional data with the x1 and x2 dimensions where you plot it on a coordinate geometrical plane, xy plane. Then you make the data points plot on that particular graph, and then you find the distance, the support vectors which are closer to the decision boundary being drawn. And using these support vectors, one could able to find a good discrimination of between the data and also generalize the data. So still data support vector machine is a very good tool which is used for binary classification or ternary classification, etc. And then the next popular ML technique which one can use is ensembling of the methods, or called as ensemble learning. Here what it does is it improves the accuracy of the predictors by using simple models. For example, I have a data which I could not able to figure out exactly what are all the patterns that I can find out. In one dimension, I can see some patterns. In the second other perspective, I can see different patterns. So what methods will do is applying one or more small models, like let us say decision tree I applied on the same data. I applied some other tool like random forest, I use it, and again I use a different other method. So what I do is different classifiers are going to give different outputs on the same data. And what ensemble learning will do is it will try to generalize from all the different classifiers used, integrate those results and come out with a hybrid solution. That's what the ensemble methods. Still the ensemble methods and what are all the inherent models that are used to do that ensembling is again an active area of research in the terms of the machine learning.
Hello, Dr. Chandra. Hello, are you with us, sir? Hello. I think we have lost his voice for some time. Let us see while he connects. Until then, we'll. Hello. I think, am I audible to everyone?
Yes, yes.
All right. Okay. So I think Dr. Chandra got disconnected. There might be some issue on his end. Meanwhile, I have Miss Shruti Shaurya with us. She is our guest today. She has relevant experience in data analytics, and she is currently working in AbbVie, in a company called AbbVie, and is based in US. So please correct me, Shruti, if I'm wrong. She'll share her relevant experience, the way she used data analysis into finding solutions. So, Shruti, can I have you here?
Yep, I am here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you are absolutely perfectly audible. So I would like to hear from you about your experiences in finding solutions, and we can take certain questions from the audience, and then we can move ahead with our presentation. Until then, we'll also see if Dr. Chandra can join it. Okay, please go ahead, Shruti.
Yep, perfect. So I know Dr. Chandra was talking more about the logic behind each machine learning algorithm, right? And I'm pretty sure he's much better person to explain all those mathematical and statistical variables. But just to give you guys this brief, which Anusha has mentioned, I was actually working in India, I think, on a data analytics company called Musigma, which many of you guys would know. And that I realized after working there and solving a lot of business problems and machine learning problems that I wanted to pursue when I came to US to do my master's in business analytics. And I'm working for AbbVie, which is a pharmaceutical company for any payer and channel insights, right? So I think when you think of machine learning, right, what is machine learning? If you think about it, right, it's you're trying to, it's sort of an automation, right? Better way to automate things, or finding a more efficient way to solve any problem, right? I think that's what machine learning does. And we are basically using algorithm which was set up years ago, right? And now why it is important? What happened? I think the question is, the answer to that is we have more data year over year. You guys must have heard about big data, right? And if you guys are interested into data analytics, I think we have so much data, and everyone all over the world wants to know what should we do with that data. You guys must hear so many problems like Facebook sharing their privacy data. You guys don't want to share data, but why that is important? I think data gives you insight, right, to what your customer wants, and you want to build on what your customer wants to give them more custom experience, custom solutions, because that gives you a competitive edge over others, right? And at the end of the day, everyone is trying to make more money out of it, and that's where your machine learning comes into the picture, right? So take a simple example of if you're a computer science student, right? If you start writing a query on C or C++, your basic thing is you just try to learn how to do A plus B equal to C, right? But if you want to do, I'm sorry, if someone wants to say something.
No, ma'am, you please go ahead.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So if you want to if you have to do the same job, right, 100 times, they have introduced for loop, if and else statement, all those things, right? I think machine learning is trying to do the same thing. If you're asking me to learn like about 1 lakh customers, I cannot do alone. I will die going through one row over one by one. So what machine learning does is they just try to compress all the data. We already have an algorithm which Dr. Chandra was explaining to you guys, and then use that to learn more about whatever data we want, right? That's what machine learning does. As Dr. Chandra would be telling you eventually when he comes back, there are like different types of machine learning algorithm. Some are predictive, some are descriptive. Oh, okay. I think we should just go ahead with that, Anusha. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll loop in again because he has some time constraint. So you
Yep.
can start sharing your screen again. It's good to have you back.
I'm sorry, there was some problem in the net.
No problem. You can start sharing your screen. Yes,
I was
you can.
not sure where exactly it got disconnected because I was keep talking.
Yes, it was right here. I remember you were talking about ensemble methods. You can go ahead, sir. Okay.
So the support vector machines, which are generally used for the binary classification or for the ternary classification, which is very good discriminative model that helps us to classify the given data. And ensemble methods, if you see, different classifiers will help us to perceive the data in their own different perspectives. And then ensembling is basically what integrating of those results that we could get the best from each and every classifier. Means suppose if you apply decision trees on the given problem, decision tree will lead you to generate certain rules and through which you can generalize on the given data. So while forming the decision tree by using either ID3 or CART or anything, they can make use of different simple techniques to reduce or remove certain dimension, that certain attributes, and then finally form a decision tree. And based on the decision tree, we can form the conjunction of the disjunction of the clauses to make the rules to arrive at certain given query constraints. Similarly, from the for the same given data, if I apply some linear regression, then I get some other perception. So like that, different classifiers we use it, so that each and every classifier will look at the data with respect to their perception, and finally we try to integrate the results. And this method will be definitely giving very promising results compared to the individual model we develop for the machine learning data. The next one is active learning, which is another new type of problem in the current recent machine learning research. What it does is, let us assume that we have generated the data on demand, and we try to build a learning model that learns on the basis of self-selected data points. So what it means is the data is generated on demand by the system, and based on that, the model gets updated randomly from the time to time by selecting the data points. So what is the major advantage of this active learning is that the amount of data, whatever is required, we can reduce it to as much as possible by applying the appropriate dimensionality reductions and also training time of the model. Because once, as I told in the beginning, 70% of the time we use it for analyzing the data, and the rest of the 30%, let us say, for developing the model. Within that 30% of the model, we use again 20% or 25% of the time we spend for training the model, and only 5% for testing the model. So the training the model is again a big task, wherein the model is going to study the patterns available in the data and make the learning process. That learning helps to generalize the generalization of the data that is going to happen. So this active learning will aim to reduce the training time of the given model, as well as reduce the dimensions of the data. And you can see recently there are many papers that have been published by the researchers on active learning. Then ML machine learning is being used conjunctively with the different areas, and particularly with the Internet of Things and ML. And we know that recent IoT is another very area which is attracted by many researchers in the past. So what does the IoT will do is trying to automate the devices, each and every device that is being connected. So each and every sensor, whatever is used in you, by you, generates a huge amount of data. And what is required for the machine learning is volumes of the data. So the IoT sensors or IoT devices provide a good source for generating volumes of data. And these devices, whatever has been used, are linked with the given as an input to the machine learning models, so that machine learning algorithms will convert the data generated by the IoT into some good actions to be taken so that those actions will be again further communicated back to the devices or the sensors, so that those sensors will execute it. Means the sensor is not an intelligent sensor. The sensors will just try to sense the information, and the machine learning is going to make all the sensors connected to the IoT, making them as an intelligent sensors or intelligent devices. So that intelligence is being given by the machine learning algorithms by analyzing the data sensed by those devices. So the convergence of these Internet of Things and machine learning is an active research area. Particularly if you see in the next slide or so, or the next slide, I will show one current example which has been used currently. The next one is again mingling of natural language processing and machine learning. So in the natural language processing, people who have the problems like analyzing the data, what is being spoken by any person, and trying to digitize that and trying to understand what it is, and then give the gist of the data. That is the basic or the challenging problem of NLP. So whoever speaks on whatever the language, let us assume that for the convenience sake, English is the primary language which is used for communication. So whatever I speak now, so if you record it, the system has to give the gist of the speech, whether it is a half-an-hour speech or a 2-hour speech. People have no time to listen to the videos nowadays. People are so busy. So what they want is the gist of the talk. So the gist can be produced in some annotated text like thing, or even again a voice like a recording produced by the system. So how nice it will be, so that we need not spend hours of video data, but only look at the main content of the data. So for that also, you can use the machine learning models to analyze the data and understand the language and speech as it is spoken by the user. For example, a simple example is a typical chatbot that uses machine learning and the natural language processing to interact with users in the text mode. Whereas Google Assistant, if you see, that uses again machine learning models, whoever speaks to the Google Assistant, which is installed in your smartphone, the Google Assistant will reply you back with some sweet voice. So what it does and how it does is, the backbone there is the machine learning. And the COVID-19, which is the pandemic period nowadays, so that we could not even talk to people or meet people at all. So here also the machine learning and artificial intelligence is playing a very important role in helping all the healthcare professionals. So the devices which are used for the data generation, thermal cameras, again, these are all the, you can say, IoT devices, thermal cameras, sensors, which are used to capture the temperatures. So, and also the deployment, so the sensors, whatever has been used, those sensors like thermal cameras that records volumes of the image information, the temperature recorders, which gives the temperatures for a large set of people. So all these things will generate the data which are used by the machine learning models. Another most important aspect of this is developing the robots and deploying the robots so that the robots will help the persons who have been affected by this disease, so that without any contact, they will deliver the services for the isolated people who are on quarantine. So another model which is used for machine learning, the current recently, is the business forecasting. Means a time series of data. So people in general, the machine learning, before this advent of the machine learning become popularized, all these are the individual problems of the respective field. So you have a time series analysis basically from the communication department or from the electrical department, where they generate a time series of data, signals or whatever might be the form of the data. So the machine learning will connect all the people, just like Nokia gives the thing like Nokia connects the people, machine learning is also connects the people of different disciplines into one platform. So the machine learning models will again, based on the time series data, what it does is the data which is being captured will try to help the managers or any authorities to arrive at the decisions, good decisions. So for that, again, your basic models like decision trees or regressions or any model, you can use it depending on the nature of the data, so that the managers will get a helping hand in arriving at good decisions. And the machine learning models which are popularly used in the recent past, that is the deep learning model, is the convolutional neural network, which is used effectively for forecasting. Either you can use a simple AlexNet or PCNet or whatever the model, they helps in giving a good forecasting of the data. Then the most hot topic of the machine learning in the current arena is reinforcement learning, which is considered as the future of AI. So what is the specialization in this reinforcement learning is, it's a special application of the deep learning that uses its own experience to improve itself. Means replica of a human's behavior. Suppose any human who is positively minded guy who wants to improve himself or herself regularly at regular intervals of time in giving the best output, what it does is he will try to analyze himself and overcome his weaknesses and then arrive at good output. The same thing reinforcement learning will do. You develop a model and then the reinforcement learning will try to analyze the model by itself so that it will try to improve its performance over a period of time. So this, for that, to do that task, they use the sophisticated strategies in making the reinforcement learning. Means they try to give some awards or they try to punish if the performance is bad, or if the performance is good, they try to award the algorithm in some forms so that it will try to improve the model by itself. And this is the most important or the hot topic of the machine learning currently, because people are fed up with the deep learning again. And even if you see, the Springer has given, let us put a full stop to the deep learning papers like that, because people are millions of people are working and developing deep learning models, and again it has become like a common practice to use the deep learning for each and every problem, but it is not so. So people are now focusing on the reinforcement learning, develop a model, whether it uses deep learning or a simple machine learning, but let the model analyze itself by its own experience. So experience, how it is measured, basically the machine learning task is working on three categories. Once the given task, for the given task, you develop a model and that model is being tested and the performance is measured. The performance measuring can be done with some simple metrics like precision, recall or accuracy. Depending on the model, you have a different metric. So how to improve that performance with respect to that metric? It will try to see where and all the weaknesses are being there that makes the accuracy lower. So this sort of a strategy which is introduced in the reinforcement learning itself, so that the reinforcement learning algorithm will try to establish in itself in developing or in making the model into a better model, so that that better model converted by the learning algorithm will definitely give better results with respect to the metrics being used. Then again, if you see, the biometrics is another area where you can use the machine learning. For example, face anti-spoofing. Biometrics are basically used to recognize a person with respect to some basic traits. And one of the basic traits is face. And nowadays, people, what they do is they will give, spoof the face. Means they take the person's photograph, a digital photograph, which is quite big in nature or handy in nature, and then put it before the sensor. The sensor, what it does is it will try to see that face and identify that the same guy is there to enter into the system, will generate, will test with the given pattern and allows. But what I am doing is I am holding the photograph of some official who is authorized, and with that photograph put before the camera, I am entering into the system. So the spoofing is done. Spoofing means we are trying to cheat the system. The system is made intelligent because of by developing some different models to identify the face. But people are more intelligent and wants to cheat the system by putting the spoof data. Spoof data means the false data, and the false data with respect to the system is handling the photograph of some person who has authorization to enter into the premises. And I have no authorization. What I do is I capture the photograph of you and then take that photograph, put it in like a good form and put it before the sensor wherever it is being used. And the sensor, what it does, it only sees what is there before that sensor, what is present. And in the face recognition system, people stand there. So what I do is instead of my face being projected into the camera, I put that photograph before my face. And the camera will look at the face and allows me. So this is called spoofing. So anti-spoofing systems are required to stop such fake users. And for that, to develop such an anti-spoofing model, normal image processing applications or computer vision algorithms are not capable enough to detect whether the given photograph is a spoofed photograph or a real photograph. Means we need to test the given face, a real face or a fake face. So in order to do that, again, the intelligence algorithms are required that support the image processing operations or the computer vision operations. And for that, you have machine learning models again, which are meant to detect this. And also in the next slide, I will tell what those models are. And you have already a tool called Amazon's Alexa, which will be able to tell who is speaking by comparing the voice with the predetermined voice profile. Again, you can see whether a voice really spoken by the user or it is a recorded voice can be detected. Means a spoofed voice signal or a genuine voice signal. Similarly, a spoofed photograph or a real photograph, real face. All these things, machine learning will help the biometrics to overcome these problems so that the genuine users alone will be authenticated to enter into the system and the fake users will be stopped then and there. Then another one is the machine learning itself is trying to automate the data, and we want an automated machine learning that will try to build solutions on its own. Means it should have the ability to handle complex scenarios. So by training the machine learning models, so that any non-machine learning expert, let us say I am a layman, I do not know anything about the machine learning, but still I could able to make a model which can try to handle a complex data. And you have a tool for that. You can test it if you are interested in. AutoML is a tool which is used to train the custom machine learning models, while the person who is developing the model may be a beginner or a layman. Okay. And to do that automated machine learning, recurrent neural networks and again reinforcement learning are used. And this is another area which I was telling. To generate a face anti-spoofing system, we need to see the machine learning or the deep learning concept called generative adversarial networks. What these GANs, in short, they are called as GANs. So what these GANs will do is they provide a mechanism to generate a new data based on the existing data. Means if I give an image, they try to, GAN will try to produce another image with a similar characteristics, and also help to see whether the generated image is how much similar to the original image. And also these GANs are used to detect whether the given image is real or fake. So with the help of the GANs, you can develop anti-spoofing systems. So to my knowledge, what I see is these are the current trends in the machine learning. If I just have a relook, one is active learning, and then convergence of IoT with the machine learning, then natural language processing with machine learning, and the real-time applications what we see in where the ML is helping the healthcare people in to a great extent is this in this pandemic period, and for forecasting the business and reinforcement learning, so that the model will try to develop on its own, try to improve on its own. Then in biometrics, as well as the automated machine learning, where an expert is not required to develop any model. Similarly, GANs, which are used to produce fake data, as well as GANs will help to identify whether the given data is real or fake. And another application which I forgot to put it here is applying the machine learning algorithms in cybersecurity, where you can see whether the mail's been spam mail detection, or starting with a spam mail or phishing attack. For all the cybersecurity attacks, the machine learning algorithms will try to provide a better solution than the traditional conventional approaches. And these are the references. I referred many, but I could not able to list it out as it goes endless. So I just give all the major data science websites. And thanks.
Thank you, sir. That was a very insightful. Hello, am I audible to everyone?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that was a very insightful presentation from your end about reinforcement learning, deep learning, and machine learning, and artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, all the hotshot topics that we hear these days. So we are very much thankful for the audience and the attendees. Whosoever has any questions, you can post it in the chat box either, or you can I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, or you can also go to our website platino.in, and on the events page, like I'm going, you can select the event and post your questions right here. You will have to log in to add your queries. So just log in from here. I already have my credentials here, so I'll log in, and you can go to the events page, scroll down, and post your questions right here. We'll get your questions attended. Dr. Chandra will always be with us to guide us, to mentor us regarding machine learning. So we can have Shruti again to continue with her chat. I'll have to unmute her. Shruti?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, you are audible. So you can continue with what you were sharing your experiences about finding the solutions using data analysis, and then we can go ahead with our with another speaker, Mr. Agyat Suri. So please go ahead.
Yeah, I think I should just try to wrap up quickly, because I think you already have 20 minutes, right? But I think I'll just take an example. I think I deal with more of...
Sorry,
Hello?
Shruti, sorry to interrupt you. Thank you, Dr. Chandra, for your time. That was a really great presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity. And I would have been given even more insight if I had more time. But in the short time, what I could able to cover, I think maximum I have covered.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was really.
And if anyone has any doubt, you have my email ID, so that I can try to answer them, or in this chat bot, whatever be the best. And thank you once again, and sorry for leaving me. Just with your permission, I leave.
And thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Sorry, Shruti, I keep interrupting you. So now you can go ahead with your experience.
Yeah, so basically, I know like Dr. Chandra has spoken about so many applications. I'll just focus on the consulting side, right? Because I've been solving business problems, not problems of IoT or something else. I think I'll just give you, let's just take an example, right, and walk through like how you can approach a problem. I think before even you talk about, I think a lot of people are asking about machine learning. I think before you even think about machine learning, one thing everyone needs to learn is how to interpret data, right? Basically, machine learning, you are asking machine to interpret patterns, understand what's going on, but before you ask machine, you need to understand how you can interpret data, right? If I give you 100 customers information, what insights you can gather. I think before you even go there, you need to understand basics of that. Basic data cuts, use Excel, I know a lot of people just use it for inputting their daily I don't know, money, how where you're spending, but Excel is a very good tool to start with any analytics before you move to R or Python or SQL or anywhere, right? So I think before going there, just try to learn descriptive analytics on your own. Try to understand inquisitive analytics, how to draw insights before you go and understand machine learning algorithm. Because when you, as soon as you start machine learning, you focus on approaches, like which approaches work for your data sets. So if you don't understand your data, there's no point of running a machine learning algorithm, because each machine learning algorithm has its own minuses, right? Just for example, like regression is the most basic form of machine learning, which is for continuous form of data, right? You cannot use categorical variable in regression analysis or regression based model. If you are using that, you ideally will be asked to convert to them to a binary variable or ordinal variable if it's more than 2 types, or if it carries weight. So I'll just talk about one example, one of the business problem I solved. I think it was for one of the consumer pharma goods company, where I think we were asked to understand which would be their priority customers, because you know each company works with a sales force, right, for with whom they can target customers. So they have, let's just say, 50 sales rep, and they have to cover 400 customers. So they need to understand where to allocate which resource and which carries a lot of weight, right? You know, like for example, if you go to like McDonald's, and if you convert them, they will give you much value business compared to someone if you're going to Honest, which is just restricted to Gujarat area, right? So I think that was our job. And I think before we went to machine learning, we tried understanding their data, like what are different data sets. And I think before you understand even machine learning, you need to understand the database management system as well, because you'll be working with so many different type of data sets. You need to know how to merge both data sets, how to do data treatment, what sort of outlier. You need to understand all those things, right? So I think we learned that before we even figured out which machine learning algorithm. And as soon as you understand about data, you need to do, there's a thing called exploratory data analysis. Basically, that what it does is you explain, you're trying to explore what each data type looks like in terms of statistically, right? Because a lot of times your data sets are imbalanced, right? It would be right skewed, or it might be centrally aligned, normal curve, everything. So with everything, we try to understand that. Then you go to the machine learning algorithm. You try to understand whether you want to do supervised learning or unsupervised learning. Supervised learning is, you know, you have a predictor variable already. So you have options like classification, decision trees, and etc. If you want to go for unsupervised learning, you have clustering, you have association rules, and etc. etc. And you have to read text, like what are the minuses, plus, and what works for your business problem and not. After you understand that, you basically divide a data set between training set and test set. And you basically train your machine on training set and try to evaluate how good is your classifiers based on all the different ways Mr. Professor have told us. And once you do that, then you test your final output with the test set to see how it's working. I think I know I don't have enough time. I think I just wrapped it up very quickly. Do you have any question which you want to, I would rather cover questions and talk about what I've done. Is there any questions, Anusha, we are trying to answer right now?
Am I audible now? Huh. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think most of the questions have been taken up by Neeraj sir. He's also associated with Platino, and you as well in the chat box. So I
Yeah.
think that was Miss Shruti Shaurya with us, who told us how we can use technology in business. She is a live example of presenting that.